Good afternoon. My name is Amy Rutledge, and I will be teaching today on Erikson's psychosocial stages of development. Erikson is a psychologist from the mid-20th century. He's known for his psychosocial theories of development. He studied the development of the human ego, starting from birth and following it through to death. He was greatly influenced by Freud's theories regarding the ego, identity, and superego. However, he disagreed with Freud as far as describing personality solely on the basis of sexuality. Erikson believed that the role of culture, society, and conflict directly affects the development of a person's ego. He also believed, similar to Piaget's theory, that children develop in a very predetermined order. In addition, he believed people develop as a result of successful resolution of crises throughout their lives. Erikson broke down his psychosocial development into 8 clear stages. These stages are displayed before you. We'll discuss them all in detail here in just a little bit. Erikson believed that individuals must successfully complete each and every stage in order to move on to the next stage. Failure to complete a stage can result in a poor personality or identity and actually produce the inability for a person to complete the following stages. The first stage of Erikson's developmental psychosocial theory is infancy. This stage focuses on the crises that occurs between trust and mistrust during the ages of 0, birth, to 1.5 years. Positive outcomes of this: if an infant successfully completes this stage, the infant will develop a sense of security and trusting relationships. This is based on the fact that the caregiver has to provide everything for the infant. If the caregiver is consistent in providing everything for the infant will successfully complete the stage. However, if the caregiver fails to provide everything for the infant can develop a mistrust of their environment, of other people, and even themselves. Educationally, this affects us. Children who have failed to successfully complete this stage can result in experiencing difficulties accepting limits and boundaries. They can also experience difficulties in building relationships. This can affect our ability to build a relationship with the child as their teacher. The second stage is the toddler stage. During this stage, you have the crisis of autonomy or independence versus shame and or doubt, depending on who you read. This occurs between the ages of 1.5 years and 3 years old. During this time, children are beginning to develop their own independence. They're beginning to develop words, the ability to walk, the ability to feed themselves, clean themselves, use the bathroom. If the adults are encouraging these kids during this stage, you'll have a positive outcome, and the child will develop the confidence that they need to work with situations in the future and to cope with these future situations. Negative outcomes: if a parent is very negative towards their child during this stage, the child can develop feelings of shame regarding themselves and doubt about their ability to meet the future. Educationally, this affects us as teachers. Children that fail to successfully complete this stage can experience difficulty in processing their own emotions. We may see this acted out in classrooms in the form of rage, impulse control issues, anger, and jealousy. Stage 3 is early childhood. This stage, you're looking at the crisis of initiative versus guilt, occurring between the ages of 3 and 5 years old. This is also sometimes referred to as the preschool stage. During this stage, children are beginning to transition, gain even greater independence. Positive outcomes of this stage: kids will not feel guilt when they begin to realize that certain things are not allowed. If a parent's not good in correcting their child or consistent in disciplining their child during this stage, the child can actually begin to develop a sense of guilt whenever they discover that something is not allowed for them. In addition, they will not experience feelings of shame regarding their use of their imagination. Educationally, we see this in kindergarten teachers. Kindergarten teachers should be encouraging their students to use their imaginations, using storytelling and music to stimulate imaginations in kids. In addition, students in this stage should be allowed to choose activities from a pre-approved list determined by the teacher, and this helps that child develop a greater sense of independence. Stage 4 is the school age, where the majority of teachers are working with kids. age is looking at the crisis of competence versus inferiority between 5 and 12 years of age. During this time, children are beginning to transition from a home environment to a school environment or a peer environment. If a child successfully completes this stage, positive outcomes, you'll see a sense of confidence develop in that child. However, that sense of competence can only develop if the child is able to discover pleasure in intellectual stimulation and productivity and reaching success. If a child is unable to find pleasure in these areas, they will result in a negative or unsuccessful completion of the stage, and this develops a sense of inferiority within that child. Educationally speaking, we as teachers, we should be intentional about affirming our students in everything that they do. We need to affirm all types of achievements. By doing this, we encourage kids to not fear exploration of a wider range of things that they might be able to do. In addition, we need to not excuse lack of skill and or lack of accuracy in our kids. By doing this, we can actually discourage competence in our students. And furthermore, we need to validate child's talents and help them build a greater work ethic during this stage. Stage 5 is adolescence. We've got identity versus role confusion. This occurs between the ages of 12 and 18, so we're looking at middle school and senior high school teachers. Students during this time are typically asking the big question, who am I? And when you're looking at this question, Erikson believed that this was the greatest identity conflict that a person can experience in their lifetime. The ability to have a positive outcome is greatly influenced by whether or not the student was able to successfully complete the previous 4 stages. If they successfully complete those previous 4 stages and are able to incorporate all of that resolution, they should be able to develop a strong personal identity of who they are and lay a foundation for making future decisions. And this comes into play as far as regarding college choices, degree fields. However, if a student has failed to successfully complete one of the previous stages, we can see this resulting in confusion in the student or the inability of the student to make future decisions. Educationally, adolescents are greatly influenced by adult role models. Many times we as teachers are those students' role models, so we need to build strong relationships with our students. If we can build strong relationships with our students, we can help guide them through this stage. In addition, we need to hold ourselves to higher standards and be aware of the fact that our students are probably imitating us in many ways. We may not realize that, but it is occurring. And we need to recognize our values that we are communicating to our students, because many times they will hold the same values that we hold ourselves. In stage 6, we're reaching young adulthood, intimacy versus isolation, and this occurs between the ages of 18 and 40 years. Positive outcomes of adults that make it through this stage are the ability for them to form close and intimate relationships. If an adult cannot successfully complete this stage, we tend to see the inability to form relationships, lack of commitment or fear of commitment, or the inability to really depend on other people. And a lot of times this can be influenced by failure to successfully resolve the conflict of stage 5. Stage 7 is adulthood, generativity versus stagnation. This is ages 40 to 65. Erikson believed that for someone to reach generativity, the ability to see beyond themselves, they really need to have kids. He believed that people need to have children as much as children need to have adults. And so if you can positively make it through this stage, you will have the ability to see beyond yourself and actually care about other people. If you fail to successfully pass this stage, you will find that adults become self-centered and they will experience stagnation later on in life. And this leads us to the final stage of life, maturity, integrity versus despair. This is 65 and older, heading into death. And during this time in life, we tend to look back on our lives and try to evaluate where we are in the big scheme of things. If an adult has developed a sense of fulfillment, they can also begin to develop a sense of unity with themselves and their family, and this results in an acceptance of death with integrity. They no longer fear death, just like a healthy child does not fear life. However, an adult that fails to successfully complete this stage can result in feelings of despair and fear of death. So in conclusion, educators are essential parts of students' developmental process. We really need to be aware of the fact that we are helping these children in their psychosocial development. In addition, we need to take the time to analyze our students' negative behaviors instead of simply jumping to conclusions. If we can analyze their behavior, we might be able to successfully walk them through where they're at. In addition, we need to help students resolve the societal conflicts that they are facing currently in our classrooms while they're under our care. And if we do this, we can really impact and influence our students in a positive way. That being said, does anyone have any questions for me? And if not, then I have a couple of questions for you. The first question is, how can we as educators, better help our students resolve the conflicts that they face while they're in our care? And the other question I have for you is, has learning about Erikson's developmental stages affected your understanding of your students' behaviors? If you'd like to research this further, references are contained on this slide. Please feel free to check my work. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.